What's going on, guys? Today I just wanted to come to you guys and talk to you about Biden's speech last week in response to the shooting in Boulder, Colorado. So Biden came out with a press conference after everything and to no one's surprise attacked the Second Amendment. There's a couple big takeaways that we're going to get into in this video. So Biden came out last week with some executive actions and there's a couple main takeaways that he proposed, I should say, in his speech last week. So first one, I just want to start off by saying he comes out and says, hey, there's nothing that I'm going to propose in any way, shape, or form infringes on your Second Amendment. And then has a but right after that and says, but there is no constitutional amendment that is absolute, except maybe the amendment that says shall not be infringed. But then goes on to say that you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. But Biden, you're the president of the United States. You should understand that that's a call to action. So yes, he said there's nothing absolute about the Constitution, basically. Now he's coming for all of your rights. That's my interpretation of what he said. Then he comes out and he says that, this is the new coined phrase, is that gun violence in America now is an epidemic. And I think the reason he did that is, I don't know if you guys remember last year with the coronavirus and that being an epidemic. So getting into what he talks about for curbing this gun violence epidemic. First thing is making people have to register their quote unquote ghost guns. Now for the people who aren't familiar of what Biden means by this term, because I know you think it's a gun and it's like a ghost. You just put your hand through it and it magically disappears. No. A ghost gun, according to Biden, is any piece of metal that you put together and then create a gun out of. So, I'm sure you guys have heard of Polymer 80 and their website. They allow you to buy a 80% gun. You go through and you mill it out yourself. You go and buy the attachments and you put the gun together. And that allows you to not have to go through your background check, and also it's not serialized. The biggest thing for me with this one is, okay, I can understand why that might be potentially scary. I brought it up with my wife and she said, oh, well, that's super scary. I said, babe, I understand, but where are the statistics showing how many guns or how many ghost guns are used in crimes? There's none. If there was a crime statistic that came out and said that over 80% of handgun murders are committed with ghost guns, you might have my attention. But he does nothing in the way of telling you what this would actually do to help protect you, the United States citizen. Let's get back to the original point here. He wants to help curb the gun violence epidemic, quote unquote. However, the criminals, a gangbanger in Chicago isn't ordering off Polymer80.com, going and getting the slide off of Big Daddy Unlimited, going and getting this trigger group and putting it together, and then going out and shooting someone, or even a mass murderer. There's no statistics to prove this. But again, he's not interested in saving lives. He's interested in gun control, and it's right there in the word control. That's all he's interested in. He doesn't want to actually help save lives. If that's the case, he'd be going and enforcing the laws that we currently have on the books, such as when your son fails a background check or lies on a federal form, you go to federal prison, such as the gun violence that's happening in Chicago. Those are the things that he would actually be going after, but no, instead he goes after ghost guns because that's going to make America safe. The next thing that he wants to do is make pistol stabilizing braces a ATF item. If you guys aren't familiar with the ATF, those are the people who regulate machine guns and suppressors. So what you have to do, which I did with my suppressor, the next thing he wants to do is make pistol stabilizing braces an ATF item. So if you're not familiar with the ATF, what the ATF does is they regulate machine guns and suppressors, just to name a couple of things. So what you have to do when you go to purchase a suppressor, if you want to purchase a machine gun, which you're probably not because they're tens of thousands of dollars, but neither here nor there, what you have to do when most people go through and they purchase suppressors, what you got to do is, just like I did with the suppressor right here, this little suppressor here. So if you do want to get a suppressor, what you have to do is you have to go online, you have to go to your gun store, you have to do your background check. Then what the ATF is going to do is they're going to run your background, and it's going to take I think mine took about 6 months. Then you come back, you get a tax stamp. You have to carry that around wherever you go, because if someone were to pull you over and ask you, where are your tax stamps for your suppressor, you'd go to federal prison. So you have to keep that tax stamp, but the big kicker here is it's $200 just to do that. So Biden wants to make pistolizing stable braces. He wants to put them in the same category as a suppressor and as a machine gun, as a fully auto machine gun. Here's the issue with that. Biden doesn't really understand a lot of the things that he's talking about, especially when it comes to pistol stabilizing braces. So what a pistol stabilizing brace was actually created for, the manufacturer / the creator of this pistolizing stable brace actually created it for his injured veteran friend who wasn't able to shoot a handgun. So he actually created the pistol stabilizing brace so he could actually then utilize his handgun in self-protection, go planking, whatever the case is. So Biden's taking something that was supposed to be good and now criminalizing people who own these, because if you don't go through and get a tax stamp for it, you become a felon overnight. The issue here is there's over 40 million of them in circulation right now, anywhere from 20 to 40 million in circulation right now. So you have to then go and spend $200 to get that tax stamp, and if you don't, you're a felon, just like that. A pistol stabilizing brace have to do with saving lives. I do understand that the shooter in Boulder potentially used one of these, but so since one person utilized something for evil, now no one in America, let's use the small number, now 20 million people in America can't have these. All people use these for, outside of the shooter in Boulder, what they use it for is going to the range and planking. Allows you to shoot your handgun a little bit more accurately. Self-defense takes your handgun and allows you to be more accurate and actually have more than one point of contact. You can have one in your cheek, one in your right hand, and one in your left hand. Helps you with potential home invaders. But Biden takes this logic of, since one person used it, no one can use it anymore. And that's an awful logic to follow. The next thing that Biden claimed is that gun manufacturers are immune from being sued. And that he believes that gun manufacturers should have the ability to be sued. That's false. That's verifiably false. You can sue gun manufacturers. Gun manufacturers are sued all the time if they have bad products. But what Biden is talking about is the ability to go through and sue a gun manufacturer because one of their products was used in a mass murder or a shooting of someone. So that's that's like saying, God forbid, someone who was shot with a Bushmaster AR. You can't then go to Bushmaster and sue them because an evil person decided to do something horrible to someone you know. You just can't do that. Follow this logic. That would be like a drunk driver hitting someone, then that person going and suing Toyota because their car was used in something tragic. That logic doesn't follow. But that's what Biden is trying to do. But again, it's also one of those things where he's just lying to the American people. He comes out on national TV and says that gun manufacturers can't be sued. It's verifiably false, but he's allowed to spread this rhetoric. I don't know any other profession where we allow people to be this wrong and this blatantly wrong about something and not check them. The next thing that Biden brought up was a national red flag law. So it seems okay on the surface. So what a red flag law is, it allows a friend or a family member or police to go to a court and petition a court to basically come and take your firearms away if you're showing signs of depression, or if you potentially could cause harm to yourself or to someone else. On the surface, that seems just fine. um, there was a couple of calls that were made to the shooter down in Florida, to the FBI, where he blew a chicken away in his backyard. They were just talking about how there was a bunch of tweets that said he wanted to be a school shooter. There's a lot of things where red flag laws could have potentially stopped that. Also, people just doing their job could have potentially stopped that. But back to the red flag laws. The biggest issue with this is, here's what actually happens. So let's say you are going through a rough time and your family member or your friend says, you know what, I don't like the fact that Corey has guns. I'm going to go to the court and I'm going to petition the court to have Corey go under investigation for whatever reason. They are going to have a private hearing where you are not aware, there's no representation on your side, your lawyer's not there, you're not there, you have no idea this is going on. Then what happens is a group, let's say they find you guilty and they say, yep, you need to relinquish your guns. Then what happens is a group of armed men will come to your house and they'll take every firearm that you own. Seems like an issue now, right? Let's say there's nothing that you did wrong. You had no intention of committing a mass murder, no intention of hurting yourself or anyone else, just having a bad day. Now you have to go pay lawyer fees, legal fees, and court fees to go and petition to get your legally owned firearms back because someone decided that it'd be a good idea to go to the court and say that you weren't legally fit to own a firearm anymore. So that's really what the issues are when it comes to red flag laws. It doesn't really help protect anyone. And what Biden does here is really slick again, is he uses suicides. He brings up suicides in this category, but all the things that he said he was going to do to curb the gun violence epidemic, suicides aren't a gun violence epidemic. I wouldn't define a suicide as a gun violence epidemic, but that's where he brings it up. Again, he's trying to pull on those heartstrings and say that, if we just have red flag laws, then, people won't kill themselves. That's what he wants to use red flag laws for. But again, it's not really going to do anything but make you then have to go fight for your right to own your own firearms. Doesn't really make sense. And my favorite thing is, in this same category, he brings up inner city violence and how he doesn't bring up anything that he's going to do to stop this inner city violence. He just brings up how there's a ton of inner city violence that's going on in Chicago and California and New York and all these big cities that, when you look at it, there's actually no correlation between stricter gun laws and less violence. The places that have the loosest gun laws and the most guns have the least amount of gun violence. The places that have the most amount of guns, the least amount of guns, legal guns, I should say, and the most laws, Chicago, Baltimore, New York, these places you're not allowed to buy guns. You're not even allowed to have guns, really. They have the most crime. So there's no correlation between the two. But Biden goes on to say that there's all this gun violence going on, and the way he's going to help the American people curb this gun violence epidemic is by going after stabilizing braces, ghost guns, and giving you red flag laws. None of those things are going to stop the inner city violence, but he doesn't care about that. He actually needs the inner city violence to make sure you guys understand all this gun violence that's happening is done by a particular group with a particular kind of gun. And that's handguns. Not the AR-15s that he wants to come after. They're not the ghost guns he's talking about, nor are they these pistol stabilizing braces. But he doesn't care about that. He just wants you to understand that there's so much gun violence going on. He doesn't care that he's not going to actually curb that gun violence, but it is what it is. I'm going to read this quote here. Most people don't know you can go into a store and buy a gun and you need a background check, but you can go into a gun show and buy whatever you want without a background check. Again, this is verifiably false. I do not understand how people allow this man to get in front of a camera and blatantly lie to the American people. That is a lie. Anyone who's ever been to a gun show can tell you that is a lie. The gun show loophole is not a thing. What they are referring to is private sales. For whatever reason, they want to throw this word gun show. What they're trying to do is eliminate gun shows altogether, because what happens is like-minded individuals go they go and they all talk about one thing. They talk about guns, they talk about what's going on in our political climate, and they don't like that. So that's what they're trying to eliminate. But what they're actually talking about here is you can private sale. So as long as you know without a reasonable doubt that I'm not a felon, you can legally sell me a firearm without having to do a background check. When it comes to like a long gun or a shotgun, things along those lines. So let's say you're my friend. I know you're not a felon. I've known you since I was 10. I can sell you a gun at a gun show, at back of Walmart, my house, your house. It's not a gun show loophole. It's private sales is what they're talking about, but they want to attach the stigma. So when someone that you know says, I'm going to a gun show, they believe that, you know, they don't really need a background check to go and buy a gun at a gun show. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. I just wanted to bring these things to your attention and just let you know that there is an active assault on your First or your Second Amendment rights. So I want to make sure that we are all on the same page here, and that we're all doing what we can by liking this video, sharing, and commenting down below, so we can help spread our message and help, you know, protect the rights that we should have, that are God-given rights. So if you guys could please like, comment, subscribe, and drop a comment down below, it will just help get our message out there. I will catch you guys in the next video.